a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I don't think we've done one since we took our little holiday break. But we are back doing the podcast.
We're back.
We have I have a this is going to be sort of a potpourri of different things. It's going to be the my instinct would just say year in review, but I actually really much dislike year in reviews because like I remember what happened. I was there. I don't need to do the year in review.
You don't need a reminder.
The only ones I like are like the top 10 best, X's or Y's.
Yes.
Because sometimes those are good. Because, if I'm looking for a new game, I might just, with the top 10 games in 2023.
So is that what we're going to do today? The top 10 games?
No, we're not going to do that. And furthermore, we are not going to do a year in review because, again, I find those boring. We're going to do something that I find slightly less boring.
That sounds great.
But it depends. Hopefully we keep it fun, which is the if the prior year was a prospective.
Yes, a prospective.
So a prospective into what we think are going to be the biggest sort of stories and trends, things to watch out for in 2024.
In what field?
Mostly UX, tech and UX.
Behavior, humans.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask what the stock market's going to do.
Good.
Okay. So, all right. So, do you want to? I have a small list.
Okay.
I'm probably maybe more prepared than you are. Do you want me to sort of start with a prediction?
Yeah. Go for it. Do I get to disagree?
Yeah, sure. No, this is.
Yeah. I don't know what you've prepared, so I don't know what you're going to say. So we'll see if I disagree. Go ahead. What's your first
one is this is a continuation of it's a story that we didn't get to talk about at the end of 2023.
Okay.
Which is the dissolution, dissolution.
Yeah.
Of the Figma and Adobe merger. Because of anti-monopolistic pressures from the EU. Something I believe months ago I said, keep an eye out.
You might have, yeah.
Because of this is going to, the anti-monopolistic, pendulum is swinging the other way.
So in case any of you are listening that might not know what these things are.
Figma is a big deal in UX.
Figma is software that lets you prototype and design software.
It has out of a collection of different apps, it has seemed to become the
app
dominant player in UX and design work.
Historically, there have been. Hey, I probably used the first prototyping tools for interface design that there ever were.
Yeah.
We were so excited when let's be real, we used to draw with paper and pen, and then we literally would, hand those drawings to the programmers that would write the code. And that's how things started. So when we got
There's still an elegance in that, of flexibility. Of just drawing screens.
And paper prototyping is really powerful. We should probably do a whole episode on that. But just saying, when the first tools came out that let you draw the interface on the screen, so the first prototyping tools, they were just amazing. And then they've been advancing since then. It's been decades. And every couple of years, there's like a new one that's the favorite one.
Let's off the top of our head, which ones can we think of? Go.
Oh, come on, that's not fair.
There was Adobe UX.
Adobe UX,
Sketch.
right? And
what was the old one?
Sketch. You said Sketch.
Yeah.
Axure.
Axure. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technically, Macromedia Dreamweaver.
Oh my God, you're really going back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Figma's been I would say the most popular one for, I don't know, a couple of years. And then when was it that Adobe announced they're buying Figma? When was that?
That was, I believe, at the beginning of 2023. That was really big news.
And it was this big deal, right? I mean, everyone was like, "Oh no, Adobe's going to ruin it," and it was this big deal. And then nothing happened. At least, obviously nothing happened. It's like it was in the works, but nobody knew what that meant. And that went on for so long. I think everybody just forgot about it. The whole thing that Adobe was trying to purchase it. But the EU shut it down, huh? Why did they shut it down?
I will say very shortly. They didn't necessarily shut it down, but I believe the conditions that were needed for them to actually for the merger to go through were so onerous
that Adobe didn't want to do it anymore.
That it was sort of like, it's not really worth it,
Be worth it.
And part of it was because Adobe has a quasi they have a quasi monopoly in other spaces. They would argue they don't. But certainly for creatives, I mean, there's some stuff if you're in the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
DaVinci Resolve. There's stuff out there, but it just so happens that they are sort of the largest player in a lot of spaces, and UX being a growing field. They would say, wait, now you're going to dominate this space as well.
Right.
And so
I see.
If you're doing any kind of digital creative work, it's like you almost have to have it, and everything's a walled garden. So, because if they eat Figma,
So what's gonna happen now?
Player. Well, I think they had to pay $1 billion fine to Figma for their troubles.
Really?
Most of the merger stuff, it's like, if it doesn't go through, then we'll pay you $1 billion.
So Figma will get a lot of money?
Well, I'm sure they spent a lot of money getting ready for the merger too. Legal stuff.
All right.
So I don't know. Things get really weird. Is
someone else going to buy them?
Would they still be for sale after this?
I don't know.
Man, you would imagine not, but maybe. I think part of it was that Adobe was like, here's like a good $1 trillion. Because Adobe sees the value in UX, and like I said, I mean, they have their own UX platform that I think they just sort of gave up and was like, we'll just turn that into Figma and just call it a day. And they had these grand plans, and now they have to.
I asked whether someone would buy Figma, but now what do you think Adobe's going to do? Will they just say, okay, well then we're gonna do what we need to do with our product and take it further?
So it's scary, right? If you're Figma, because you have this competitor that's outside your doorstep that you're like, hey, let's partner with, because we don't want to have to compete with Adobe, right? Like if Adobe's putting all their firepower,
Adobe's gonna really work on that product,
right? Well, because think about it, Adobe was going to pay $24 billion for Figma.
Right.
Well, okay, they didn't do that, so now they got like $10 billion to plow into this product, right? And that's scary. You don't want to have to compete with that. So maybe you look for another buyer, but I don't know who would want to get into that space. For example, Microsoft. Why would Microsoft? I mean,
can I talk about the elephant in the room?
Sure.
Well, you might want to get into that space if you wanted to totally redo that space with AI. Because you know that this is one of the places, and I'm not,
I think that's why Adobe was doing that anyway.
Then I'm not hyped up on AI. I mean, that's a whole nother
put
conversation.
a pin in AI because we're good. That's our next topic.
Okay. However, I think this is one of the few places where I think AI could be useful. So someone could just decide to do that, and
but that's what Adobe was going to do.
They were going to use
AI. It's not like Adobe's been rolling out AI stuff all throughout their suite. So it's not like some company, whatever Figma does, or some company who buys Figma, they're all going to integrate it into AI. Or say they're going to.
I don't even mean integrate into AI, but okay. We can put that off.
The other interesting universe that might do it, it's kind of Microsoft. If there was a company coming from the development side, the code side,
which
and then they
Figma
could
has
integrate.
which Figma has been leaning, and like one could say has fallen over into that side. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe
I think that
maybe Atlassian, but I don't know if they could afford them, but maybe Atlassian would do it.
I think that's that's very likely.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know. Atlassian already has so much stuff that sort of competes with Figma, right?
Not really.
You don't think so?
Nah.
It's not the same.
Hey, whatever happened to Sketch? Does anybody use it? It was so popular. It was Figma, you know. Everybody used Sketch.
They're still kicking.
Huh.
Did
they get bought by someone?
No. But I think they're mostly a Mac thing. And so I think maybe they've been having trouble breaking into a Windows dev organization thing, because sorry, I think I called Adobe UX. It's Adobe XD.
I think that's all right. I knew what you meant.
So yeah, I think it's I think, though a lot of devs do code on Macs, but if you're like if you're sort of a Windows organization, I'm not sure
either.
Well, so anyways, right, you know how it is, where there's this line in these software products where you kind of become beholden to the big companies.
Yes.
Like, it's one thing for like UXers to use you, it's another thing for like,
the entire software development department,
Ford, to integrate you into their corporate whatever. So that's like another level, and Figma definitely got there with their enterprise licenses, and they'll connect to servers, and I'm not sure
anything crazy like I mean, would Salesforce do this?
Oh, I thought about Salesforce. Hey, Salesforce, you want to talk about people who have money? They have cash.
We could talk about cash. Salesforce, but I don't want to talk about Salesforce. But I recently had
I'm just saying, but yeah, that's
but I recently had an interaction with Salesforce. I don't know, what do you want to call it? Product. Salesforce system.
Wow.
Ecosystem.
I forgot that Salesforce bought Tableau.
That I wasn't impressed with at all. So they, in my opinion, I don't think they are ready for UX and design. They certainly would have to come a long way to come up with tools, but I could just imagine them trying or something.
Okay, so just to give you a sense of things.
Yeah.
So in 2016, they bought Demandware for $3 billion. Then they bought Quip, a word processing app, for $1 billion. And in 2017, they acquired Sequence, a UX experience design agency, which I don't even remember that one.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
They bought MuleSoft for $7 billion. and some other stuff for undisclosed amounts. Okay. And then they bought in 2019. In 2019 they bought Tableau for $16 billion. That's big. Tableau, for those of you who don't know, is probably the premier data visualization software analytics suite. There are others that maybe are better, but it is becoming also, now that it's integrated into Salesforce, it is becoming much more common in corporate-y stuff as well, for big data platforms to use Tableau as a platform, rather than it was before. It was sort of more of an academic kind of small potatoes thing. And then I forgot about this one. In 2021, they bought Slack for $30 billion.
Salesforce did?
Yeah. I don't know how.
I didn't know that Salesforce owned Slack.
It just like when it was during the pandemic, it just went in. Yeah, they own Slack. So they've been buying stuff. They've just been munching on all sorts of things. They bought a couple AI stuff. So yeah, they got money, and they have been spending it on buying all sorts of things, and maybe Figma's next. So anyways, that's Figma. The UX software. I think what will continue to happen in 2024 is a continual muddling of the UX software suite. That's my guess. Okay. Figma continues just to patter along. Other competitors. I'm going to give it like a 25% chance that Figma gets purchased by someone else who's big. Okay. Any other thoughts that you want to do about that?
No, that's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so that's number one, and obviously that has a lot of big implications in a lot of areas. All right. Next.
Yeah.
Let's talk about AI, and the big trend for 2024 is going to be companies that don't really need AI shoving what they call AI into every corner of every product, just because. So CES is going to be happening in a couple days.
That is the consumer electronics.
Everything is going to have AI in it. They will have figured out some way to use AI in some capacity to do something in every product suite, because it's what investors want. Let me give you a story that I just read just this morning. Microsoft, who is the largest owner of OpenAI, the probably most successful AI company as of to date, they have announced that they're making the first change to Windows PC keyboard layouts in 30 years. So 30 years ago, can you guess what key they added to the standard Windows keyboard layout?
All right, I'm looking at a keyboard. What did they add?
30 years ago.
30 years ago. What year was that?
That would be 1994.
Backspace?
Backspace? No, my God. No, definitely not.
What?
The Windows key.
Oh.
Yeah, the Windows key.
I should have known that one.
The Windows key, which actually does so many cool things. Anyone who doesn't know, you should go look up the Windows key shortcut list. I never use it, but there's all kinds of amazing stuff. There's like 150 Windows shortcuts where you can make things. You can make your windows go left, right, top, bottom. You can do all this stuff.
To check that out.
I believe like Windows Shift B resets your graphics driver. Something like that. I know
there's something that clears your cache.
It's wild. No one uses them.
No one uses it. Yeah.
Unless you're a power user. So they're making the first big change to
what are they going to do?
They are adding a Copilot key.
Oh my God.
Which will replace in full keyboards the menu key or application key. That was introduced alongside Windows keys decades ago. You have I believe you have a 75%, so your keyboard doesn't have that one. But if you look at a full-sized, it's the Windows key on the left side, and on the right side, I believe between the Alt and the arrow key, there's used to be that little thing, and if you press it, it would open the menu of the program you were in. So, I
just did it. I have a different laptop on my desk than the one you're thinking
of. Yeah. There you go. Yes.
And it has one of those. And I have never pressed that before, and I just pressed it.
So
that's actually useful. I would probably use that key.
Well, it's going away. They're replacing it.
Just when I found out about it.
It's been there for 45 years since probably Windows 1.
That's kind of funny.
Okay. Anyways, so they're replacing it with the Copilot key, which will launch Windows Copilot that will be built into Windows 11.
That's a really
offering up
idea.
A ChatGPT-like chatbot that can answer questions or queries or even take actions inside Windows.
Okay.
So they're but they like own OpenAI, so they're sort of building it into everything.
Yeah.
But then there's like other stuff that you would sort of comical. Like I'm sure every fridge that is going to get rolled out at CES will have like AI integrated into the fridge. It doesn't need it.
What will it do?
Oh my God. Okay. Hold on.
Do I even want to know?
Oh my God.
What am I going to do with my refrigerator with AI?
Samsung releasing a smart fridge. The 2024 bespoke 4-door flex refrigerator with AI Family Hub Plus. Barf.
AI Family
Plus
Hub Plus.
Okay. AI Family Hub Plus.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready for this?
Maybe.
According to Samsung, the feature uses a smart internal camera that can recognize items being placed in and out of the refrigerator and can identify up to 33 different fresh food items based on predefined set of training data, comprising approximately 1 million food photographs. Combining this with the food list available on the Family Hub Plus screen, users can add expiration date information to items they would like to keep track of and receive alerts on via the refrigerator.
Oh my God, are you kidding? So they think I'm going to stand in my kitchen and put in expiration of my food
into the app that's integrated with your refrigerator.
I'm going to enter that information in.
It gets better. In Samsung's own vision, the bespoke 4-door flex refrigerator with AI Family Hub Plus is meant to serve as the centerpiece of the company's food ecosystem, being able to tie into and orchestrate specific interactions with other Samsung products and services, such as Samsung's recipe and food planning app via Samsung Food, which users will be able to access via the Family Hub Plus and Samsung Health.
You used the word, somebody wrote the word orchestrate for this. Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, I like food. I like cooking. Refrigerators are very important to me. But okay, that's. But what about lettuce? It doesn't have an expiration date. Do you make one up?
I guess it's like this lettuce looked a little.
So you mean if you know that I have cottage cheese in my refrigerator that is going to expire in 3 days, then you're going to come up with a cottage
but if it's not open, cottage cheese will last a long time. But if it is open, then it's ridiculous.
I would love. You know what I want to do? I want to get Guthrie. Can we get the consulting gig to do the in-home research for Samsung?
No, we won't.
Because I would like to do the usability testing. I would have a blast.
It's going to be so bad.
Are you listening? Call us. We would like to do the in-home user testing.
Is getting good enough that it's like close. So, for example, I bet you the AI is good enough to like if you like put pasta in the fridge, like leftover pasta, it could probably with like a 95% accuracy identify that this is pasta. You've put pasta in here. But like besides just like it being sort of a Orwellian nightmare.
Yeah, that's
what do you do with the information that there is pasta in your refrigerator?
I agree.
Right?
You know.
So, for example, there's an image to recipe feature with the enhanced Vision AI, which now recognizes meals and multiple food items from photographs, blah, blah, blah. And so then, like, right? But yeah, so I just, connecting with Samsung Health, Smart Food can use the provided health information to suggest healthy, appropriate recipes whose instructions can then be sent to the appropriate appliance, such as the forthcoming induction Samsung Anyplace induction cooktop and slide-in range. So then it would come with a 7-inch LCD screen that allows you to display recipes. I just okay, I'm in my fridge and I ask my fridge, give me a recipe.
You're not in your fridge. You see, you're supposed to be doing this while you're not in your fridge.
Like in the app. No, but like, so no, I guess
you're in your living room watching TV and you're thinking about what do I want for dinner, and you don't want to get up and go into the kitchen and open the fridge. So the app, while you're watching your favorite show, the app is going to be giving you alerts. Can you imagine alerts all day? Your tuna is about to expire.
What doesn't know? You don't know?
It said it was going to send you alerts and notifications.
The other thing is, so I guess it is, okay, I'm trying to come up with a use case scenario here. You're like, hey, make me a recipe with the ingredients I have in my fridge.
I know.
And then the recipe would display on the little fridge TV.
Okay. No,
and then you make it, and then you put it on your stove, and it would have like the recipe on the stove, and you hit start, and it would cook it appropriately or something.
I could see you're at the office, and you don't remember what's in your fridge. And so it would tell you what should you make that's in your fridge. And then if you were missing any ingredients, you could it would order them for you, and they'd be delivered to your home when you got home.
So like there's like a path there somewhere.
Now I'm getting on board.
But it's not going to be any good. And
that's the problem.
That's the problem. Like none of this.
It could be good.
Just for fun, before we went on, I opened up Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when you press it,
but not with the button,
it's actually Copilot with Bing Chat. So it's not Copilot. It's
I know.
Bing. So we're doing different mental models because is it Copilot? Is it Bing Chat? Is it this other thing? Yeah. And then you start, and I ask it, I just like, is this free? Is this a scam? What's the catch? And it's like, there's no catch. And then at the bottom it says 1 out of 10. And I was like, 1 out of 10 what? You know? And then it's like, please agree to a privacy statement. I was like, what is going on? It's like all this stuff and like terms of use and like.
No, you're right. It's all going to be bad. That's the problem. It could be. Right? It could be borderline useful, but
maybe in a couple of years once they iron out all the kinks.
But it will. But even I think if they iron out the kinks, which I don't think people will do easily, which we have evidence of after you read about Samsung's thing with orchestrating. So I don't think I don't think it's going to be well designed for a long time, if ever.
But also shoving the stuff in operating systems or Samsung, right? So Samsung, they want you to use their fridge and their app and log into their services and on their stuff. But like also like we have a ChatGPT subscription. I can just open a browser and talk to ChatGPT. And because we have a subscription, it's faster and higher quality than Bing Chat. And like, what is there in Copilot that I would ever need if I can just open up like ChatGPT?
Copilot, if you let it, will suck up all your corporate data.
Well, yeah, that sounds worse to me.
And then they will, then they'll take all your notes and put it into a PowerPoint and all that stuff. Remember from that original video?
Yeah. So they're going to jam it everywhere. I'll tell you why it's going to be a problem. And if those watching, I'm pointing aggressively with my pen at the screen. I'm stabbing. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what's actually really expensive?
What?
Running all these AI queries.
Expensive.
It's expensive. Oh my God, I dropped the pen. It is getting so when you go to ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
There are servers that are running all these huge calculations, and it's getting much cheaper, and it gets like 10x cheaper every year. So we'll get there, but it's still not free. And so, like Microsoft putting AI stuff, all these things, it is going to cost them a fortune, and they can do it because they're Microsoft and they have money and they want to build out an AI infrastructure anyways. So let's use this as the test model before we do the fun stuff that we sell to our corporate clients. Fine. I think that's their secret goal, is to just have everyone's information on Windows, and then they can come up with the good stuff that they'll sell to the corporate clients behind the protection.
Yep. I agree.
But it's actually expensive. And if you're a medium-sized company, 90% of the companies are just actually using ChatGPT APIs. So like Snapchat had a whole chatbot thing that they rolled out. It's just ChatGPT queries. So they're all just pinging the servers, and it costs like, a 100th of a cent every question. So it adds up. And so now you have an external expense to all the software that has AI in it. At least when you code bad software in the real world, the expense ends when, I guess you have to spend a tiny little bit to maintain it for bugs and whatever, but you put it out there and it's okay, it's bad, and then no one uses it and it stops. But like if you put out bad software out there, and you're not getting the revenue from it, well, now it's costing you because all these queries are costing you money every month. So there's going to be, in all these companies from big to small that are rolling out all this AI stuff, there is going to be a need to ramp the revenue up to make up for the losses of the AI queries. And it's, how that goes. When there is business pressure to ramp up revenue coming from software, what happens to the software?
Gets worse.
It gets worse
from a UX point of view.
So they're gonna just slam all this stuff in there.
Dump bad software.
Like this fridge. You got to add processing and Wi-Fi integration and cameras and mics and screens.
Do you think we'll get to the point where we can't buy a regular refrigerator anymore?
No, I don't.
Good.
I don't.
Because I don't want one of these.
My point is that so everyone is running as fast as possible to throw AI into everything.
Yeah.
And it's one thing if you're a smartphone and you already have like a computer chip sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's one thing if you're like a Tesla car and you already have a computer sitting in there ready to go.
Yeah.
That all kind of makes sense. A smart speaker, fine. But like, to start putting it into all the stuff that doesn't have that stuff, and then to write software that's going to be costing you money, and now you're saying, well, everyone's going to use this.
Yeah, but just think about all the jobs and all the economic busyness that this will result in.
None.
Well,
but the same. No one's going out and like buying 10 refrigerators because it has AI now. Like, it's not gonna, like, if you need a fridge, you need a fridge. Like, I just don't think there's a lot of people who are like, well, I bought a new fridge last year, I guess it's useless. I need to buy a new one because it doesn't have AI feature. I mean, I guess that's kind of a selling point. I think most companies don't want to be left behind. And they're like, if we don't get on this bandwagon, the shareholders will yell at us and we'll get left behind. So we need to say we're doing a million AI things to bump our share price.
Yep, I think you're right.
So my prediction for 2024 is that we are going to see AI shoved in every nook and cranny. And 1% of it is going to be cool and be like, whoa, what a smart application. That is so neat. Like, and it'll work. And 95% of it will be garbage and terrible,
and yet
not even AI, you know?
Yes, right,
like, do you need AI to suggest a recipe?
Right.
Sorry, like 6 years ago, I was using a dinner spinner on my app where I would say, these are 3 things I have, and then it would give me recommendations. Like, it's not like you don't need, you know,
AI for that.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need AI to recommend things that have chicken and, you know,
chicken
cabbage
and rice,
you know, like, we can figure it out. You know, that's not exactly like machine learning.
All right.
But whatever, maybe it's better.
You did too.
Well, hold on. I'll finish up the AI thing.
Okay.
So my prediction is that not only will it get shoved everywhere.
Yeah.
We will then get to the, oh God, this is expensive. We can't afford to do this. And
so
the software.
Do you think we will get to that by the end of this year?
No. Stuff is going to get released in 2023. So that CES means it ships in June, right? Which means people are getting their hands on it in August, which means that
we must do it is happening.
Did I say
2024?
I can't even.
I figured you meant 2024.
Yes. So maybe 2025, that whole thing starts to fall apart a little bit. Would you like to? I'll tell you my prediction about then what happens to it. And it's what needs to happen with AI stuff is the same thing that happened to security on phones.
Which is what?
There used to be like things like the voice processing where you're like, you know, hey, so-and-so, right? Do this or do that.
Yeah.
It used to be that it was just listening all the time and sending that stuff to servers.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's weird. It's creepy. I don't like it. Turn it off.
Yeah.
It's too slow.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't have an internet connection, it doesn't work. And what happened was it got efficient enough and the processors got fast enough that they were able to do it locally on device. This was Apple's big thing, was that you could do the facial recognition and the fingerprint scanner and the text recognition on device. It's secure. It doesn't send anything to the servers. They can't see that data. It's all encrypted. That's what really unlocked it to become, I don't want to say mainstream, but allowed it to allow the software to not be garbage.
Okay.
Because it was done locally, so you didn't take up server runtimes and it wasn't expensive. It was done locally, so you had the privacy protections there, and it was done locally, so you didn't need an internet connection, and it happened really fast, very responsive. And there's less vectors of security vulnerabilities. So just imagine a world in which, in order, you know, so you can like turn your car on, you know, using the ChatGPT or whatever, but it's sending a message to a server, and then the server is sending a message back to the car to turn the car on. That's a vector for attack. If you can keep it all inside the car, and it's not sending anything out and it's not getting anything back, you've just eliminated a lot of attack vectors.
Yeah.
So eventually, I do think there's a future in which AI will be in all sorts of products I think that's coming. So I don't want to say that I'm anti-AI, but it needs to happen securely on device.
Okay.
If the fridge had a thing, that's fine. I guess that makes sense, but it needs to happen on the fridge, not connected to an app. You don't have to log in, not connected to the internet. And that's when I think the software will actually get to a place of decency, and you don't have to orchestrate all this smart home stuff.
We're essentially going to go. I'm not going to say go backwards. I'm going to say we're going to go around the circle. So, originally there was no internet and computers did not talk to each other. They just, well, there were local area networks, right?
We're going to go back to local area networks.
Yeah, that's what right.
Well,
and
this is the
I know,
and
then we went to then
everything was the cloud.
Were like totally standalone. Then the personal computer came out. It didn't talk to anything. I mean,
was a printer, serial port.
It could talk to a printer if you plugged it in.
Right.
Everything it could talk to things if you plugged them in. And then of course the internet came around, and then we started and
everything had to be connected to the cloud,
where you weren't even going to have a computer. You're just going to have a screen, and it went right to the cloud. And then
turns out that's expensive to maintain all that cloud storage, and nothing connects to each other.
Now we're going to come back around and start to have local area networks, and then we're just going to have it come back right to the machine. And
so, for example, Matter, which is the new interoperable smart home standard, that can operate theoretically, not on Wi-Fi. So, like one device can just talk. One Matter device can talk to another Matter device, and any Matter device can talk to any other. So, if you have a Matter fridge, you should be able to. In the fridge, it'll be like, what other devices are nearby? And there should be a light bulb, and it can talk.
Induction stove and your microwave.
None of it goes to the cloud. Everything's processed locally on. So theoretically, you could say, you could go to your, it's like the USB port of smart devices. Yeah. You could go to your washing machine and say, hey, washing machine, assign these lights that you notice as kitchen lights, right?
Yeah.
And then it would send out the signal for those lights to be, I'm the kitchen light, right? So each device now says I'm a kitchen light. And then you walk into the other room to your fridge, which is a totally different brand. You haven't signed into any apps. You haven't messed with any software ecosystem garbage. And then you say, hey, fridge, turn on my kitchen lights. And your lights would just turn on. That's sort of like the smart AI future that makes sense. If it's local, on device.
All right.
And you know what's not going to happen?
What?
That. Because all these companies were like, we need the data and we need the AI to phone home so that we can have it all in our walled garden ecosystem.
All right. Now, Guthrie.
Sorry, that got heated.
You got through 2. You said you had 5.
Well, I think that's the biggest one. I think the AI being slammed into every nook and cranny is going to be a big prediction for 2024. 2024. I'm getting my years.
You have a few more minutes.
Do you have any other? Do you have any predictions?
Do I have it? I mean, I didn't think about this ahead of time, so now I'm going to have to do it off the top of my head.
Okay, let me give you a question here. What do you think is going to happen to the UX job market in 2024? 2022 boom year. 2023 kind of okay, though a bunch of Silicon Valley companies laid off like 10 trillion UXers, and they sort of flooded the market.
I recently had someone tell me that my persona and my brand was very positive and supportive, and I should not go down the dark path of being the UX curmudgeon, because I said that I was a UX curmudgeon, and this person said, no, but you have this brand and persona of being like supportive and positive and an optimist. And I was like, I do? Anyway,
Can I tell you my guess?
Your guess about what I would answer?
No, about why you have that persona.
Why?
I think it's because you are an open and friendly person.
Aw,
and
that's
but
a
that
nice thing to say.
that is, but that has nothing to do with your intellectual.
I am an open and friendly person, and
Yeah. So
I
like
care about people, and I
if you
do
go to a
like.
conference, you don't bigwig people. You go and you watch events, and people come up and say, "Hey, I
Yeah.
love you," and you're nice about it. You know.
Well, yeah, I do. I like talking to people, and I like being supportive of people and
Yeah,
helping them
very
out.
supportive.
I really, I
So
mentor.
they just assume that positive
Right. But I'm
ethos that you have carries.
incredibly pessimistic about almost everything in my life. So, I am very, very, very worried about UX. I'm very worried about UX because now, so here's the thing. UX, user experience work, whether design or research or strategy or anything else, is more critical now than it's ever been. And there's more need for it now than there's ever been. So it should be booming. However, if there's the thing you mentioned this before, where you said, what happens when there's a lot of pressure, right? And they have to get software out quickly. Yeah. They just, it's like, okay, we don't have time for this. I had a conversation recently with a client, and they said, that I was looking at the product that they had, and I said, you guys going to do any usability testing on this before you release it? And they were like, oh, yeah, we do user acceptance testing all the time. And I'm like, oh, wait. That sounds similar, but that's not the same thing. And they were like, it's not? What's the difference between user acceptance testing and usability testing? I guess that's a great quiz question, Guthrie. Do you know the difference?
User acceptance testing?
Yeah.
I don't think I could define user
acceptance testing has been around for a long time, and it's part of the whole software development methodology. And what it is that, if anybody even does it, what it says is that, the last part of software development is to check it with users and make sure that it has the functionality it was supposed to have. But that's functionality. That's not whether.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. It does it. It checks the refrigerator and then spits out a recipe. We're done. But what was that experience like? Did it work? Was it frustrating? Could people figure it out? How long did it take?
Does anyone care?
Does anyone care? That's the usability testing part of it. Anyway.
And the worst part is,
yeah,
these companies should know better.
Well,
because Samsung, Samsung
I know.
did Bixby. They spent a gajillion dollars having a friendly assistant, and then it didn't work.
I'm going to take us off. I will keep it down to 1 minute. I'm going to take us off on a 1 minute journey, because there are two things you mentioned that when you said these companies should know better. Number one, organizational memory.
Yeah.
Is a disaster at most companies.
And there's more churn than ever.
So somebody might have learned it before, but no, that doesn't mean anybody remembers, that person's gone, or anybody heard about it inside the company. So a really big failing is the failure of organizational memory. So I'll say that. And then the other thing that I was going to say about this, don't they know better? I listened recently. I watched a YouTube video, and it was a very high level technology person at a very big, company that does a lot of software and stuff. And he he was doing this talk at a conference, and he was going to now illuminate the audience with this big insight that he had developed, which was, you shouldn't be building features. You should be building a product that allows people to do what they want to do. And he expected the rest of us to go, "Oh, you're kidding me. We should?" It's like, yeah, duh. So he was like saying, you need to document their workflow and design from that, as though it was this big revelation. And I'm like, okay, we've been saying that for, I don't know, 40 years. Like, he thought this was a really unusual thing. So if he thinks it's an unusual thing, and I'm glad he's having insights, and maybe he'll do it at his company, and maybe someone else will do it. But this is why it's still going to continue to be bad, because everyone's just designing features. And if you're designing features and you're trying to get the software out the door, you don't need the pesky UX people who are going to just tell you all the problems and why it won't work and what you need to fix it and you need to change it. And I think these companies aren't going to want to hear that. They also believe that at this point, good user experience is the same thing as good visual design. And they also think anybody can do good visual design. And all of those assumptions are wrong. So good user experience is not good user interface / visual design. Those are two different things. They're both really important. They're two different things. And not anybody can do the UI part anyway. So I think there's just a lot of hubris and this feeling that, well, that's fine. We don't really need it. We've now have standards. I've heard companies say, oh, well, we now have standards and we have, reusable components. So we don't need any UX. So there's so much misunderstanding of what user experience is that I'm concerned about the future of the job situation. So,
well, the question for me,
I hope I'm wrong.
The question for me with the jobs is, do any of these companies start to pay a price for doing this garbage stuff? So, I mentioned Samsung. They spent billions and billions on Bixby, and it was a flop, and they got rid of it. Okay, like that's just right. That's just an investment that went bad. And it was bad because they tried to keep it in a walled ecosystem, and it just, it wasn't.
I don't know that they're going to recognize that a big part of their problem is a UX problem. That's my.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with you. Right,
which means then they won't think to fix it by.
So yeah, they're gonna do this thing. They had bad software before, blah blah blah. Well, we'll just do it with AI, and that'll be a big feature, and everyone will go, and it'll be garbage, and then and it won't work, and then we just this other thing down the corner, and so there's just this never ending stumbling over terrible software coming out, and a lot of companies don't seem to be paying much of a price for that, where they're not realizing the price.
Yep.
Of course, the company that does have it all together and actually focuses on their users is Apple, and they continue to be worth $1 quadrillion. And
but I'm telling you,
their investments last forever.
I know, but other companies who look at them do not think, oh, one of the reasons they're so successful is because of their UX. I mean, that just, it's other things. It's not that.
Yes, right. So they'll spend forever to get like a drag and copy move thing animation.
Yeah.
Just perfect, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they care about their products. It's smart. Their software barely changes. is just this little incremental stuff, and they can use the same animation and the same layout and the same interoperability of how everything comes together for the user, and they just use it for years, and it's awesome. I watched someone working on their phone, and there was a thing that was in an app that was just like, it was like in an app, and they needed to get this whole long piece of information off their phone and send it to someone else, but they couldn't share it in any way.
Yeah.
And they copied it on their phone, and they logged in on their laptop, and they hit, they just pasted it on their laptop, because Apple has the user magic where if you copy it on one device, you can just paste it on the other. It's awesome.
I don't think,
and then they'll have it for 20 years.
For whatever reason, and I'm not sure why, it's going to be a strange thing to say, perhaps. Capitalism doesn't value humans.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, well, it would be easier to use, and it would be nicer to use, and the people would like it better, and people could learn it easier. And it's just like, and we know there's a connection between that and making money, but that is not an obvious connection. And when you try and make that argument, a lot of times it's just like, no, people in these companies get very tech focused. And if it's the latest technology, you can make an argument for why that will save them money or make them money, which it might not, but they'll believe that. But there's a bias against the idea that making humans happy equals money. That connection, and I blame myself and others like me and you that are in the field that don't make that explicit, that don't have the evidence of that. I think the evidence is there, but we don't often have it and use it. And the only places where it seems to stick are in places that have to do with death. Okay? So you can make that argument about airplanes, airplane staffing protocols, medical devices, medical protocols. If you are at risk of having a big disaster and having to pay for that disaster, only because you have to pay for it, not just the disaster, but paying out for the disaster because you got sued, then people are interested, and that's when I've seen, any big changes that happen. And, when I just remember so many times when, I got contacted by some large corporation, and they would say, okay, look, I two things I remember, Guthrie. One, a company called me and said, because the online form is poorly designed, we just lost $7 million on a real estate deal. We can't do this anymore. Can you help us? Okay. And then another one was, I love this one. Hello. The people that work in our call center, they just all unplugged their computers, the entire call center warehouse, and they say they won't turn them back on until we fix the software. And I thought that was great. I was like, oh, I said, in my mind, I'm going, go call center workers. But I said, sure, I can help you. So, unless there's like this immediate kind of emergency and it's going to cost money, it's hard to get people excited.
I do think that companies that push features in the short term, it can work because the juice is worth the squeeze. So, for example, I'm thinking about Google Sheets. Okay. When Google Sheets first came out, the UI UX was not very good. But the user experience of being able to have two people work on a document at the same time, right?
Understand.
So, okay, but then the competition catches up. So if you can just keep that monopolistic thing of like, it's worth it, you can keep stumbling forward.
I'd love to do a session on just cognitive biases in software design. Here's a cognitive bias. What's the name for this one, Guthrie? Which is, yes, absolutely. The right feature at the right time can
for the right
propel
price.
You. But then what happens is people put the blinders on, and then it's all features are good. It's like we just have to come up, and this is what the agile methodology is. Every 6 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks, whatever it is, you come up with the list of features that you're going to create. And that's
sports
all you
teams
care
do this,
about.
Where some sports teams are like, if we just get the right coach, then and so every 2 years they just fire their coach and their team is bad for years and years and years.
So yes, the right feature, the right time, the right place, absolutely. But that does not mean that you should be doing all of your planning and development and all your processes just based on features, because 98% of the features are not that wonderful. And because you're not spending user experience time on them, they're actually less than wonderful. They take the quality of the product down. So just cranking out features is a disaster. And that's how everybody is creating software. So.
And you experienced this very strongly personally recently because you were in the market for a car, and the feature you were looking for was an electric car for a variety of reasons. And here in the United States, there are just very few cars that are electric, that are decent, that don't have some sort of terrible something, and that like are at a reasonable price point. They don't exist. And it's this really weird sort of monopoly.
It makes the decision process easy. You don't have a lot of choices.
There's not a lot of choices, right? And the design of them isn't great. So,
all right, Guthrie, you've run out of time and you didn't go through your 5.
My 5? 5 what?
You said you had 5 predictions.
I said I have 5 predictions?
Oh, I thought you did. No, did we do all your predictions?
Oh no, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right,
we got through that. We definitely got through the 3 most important ones, which was the UX job market, sort of the state of Figma.
My gosh, you know what we didn't do at the beginning that we should have done? So we're going to do it now. We have classes coming up. We have in-person classes in Columbus, Ohio, one on behavioral design, one on UX leadership. We have an online workshop on behavioral design, and we forgot to say that. And so probably no one is still listening to the podcast. So please remind me when we do our next podcast to do that at the beginning. So Guthrie, if people are interested in attending one of our workshops or just getting hold of us for any reason, how do they get hold of us?
You can email info@theteamw.com.
Thanks, Guthrie, for your predictions. I don't know. It doesn't sound really positive. So it makes the curmudgeon happy, but
I think whenever there's a new technology, the UX always
lags. Always.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thank you, Guthrie.
Enjoy CES.
Talk soon.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.